This is Clayton Vance coming to you from the Mountain West in the U.S. And we're going to do a little podcast, a little architectural discussion about a recent vacation I took with my family to Universal Orlando, Florida. The weather was nice, warm, and it was one giant set piece. We've talked about set pieces and how that's essentially what we're creating when we create architecture. But there's a big giant difference when you're creating a theme park from life and reality. Let's start big and go in, because I don't exactly know where to take this. But the image we're looking at is going into one of the rides and you're looking up at the castle, Hogwarts. And that's the reason we went, was to go to Harry Potter World, because Harry Potter's cool, the movies are awesome, the books are fun, and it's created this entire new fantasy world, and it was amazing. But it's interesting because the overall experience of life and what architecture is supposed to do for us in life is to help us provide buildings that represent our communal values, whether they be retail or civic or all of these other things, right? And what are those values? And so architecture in many ways is way bigger than just a building. It's not just form follows function. That's an old idea that in all reality, man, it just didn't deliver the results that we actually wanted. And so what we've done is we've started to create these just themed things. And theme parks are one of the culprits of doing this. And I don't want to bash on theme parks. All I want to do is just make some observations and some consequences of doing things a particular way. Meaning, you go to the hotel. The hotel is in its own isolated parking lot area. It has its own pool. In order to get to the park, you have to get on a bus, go down a road, get off the bus, stand in a line, go through security, go to another line, go through the gate to finally get in the park. So it's a multi-step process to get from the place where you actually are staying to the place where you're supposed to be entertained or engage with architecture and life and the purpose for which you went to a particular place. And you're a couple miles away, and so all you're doing is you're going from a sleeping pod into a transportation thing to another transportation, and then you finally get there. Next month I'm going to St. Augustine, Florida, rather than Orlando, Florida, and it's going to be an entirely different experience because it is the oldest continuous settlement in the continental U.S. And because of that, we're going to be staying right down in the square. And so you walk out the door and you are there where you're supposed to be in terms of what it is that you're trying to engage with. All of the architecture, the buildings, the history, everything about what it is that you're trying to engage with is just right there. And so my fear and just looking at how many of us were there at this theme park is that I'm beginning to wonder if we have gotten too far away from an authentic architectural experience to properly distinguish authentic architecture and urbanism from fake architecture and fake urbanism. Because if you think about it, what was the last restaurant you went to? And did that restaurant, if it wasn't in a city or if it was in some sort of big box power center where you had Costco and this and that and a few different restaurants and it was all in a parking lot, what did the building look like and what kind of restaurant was it, and was it artificially themed to try to reinforce the character, right? And if you were to go to a restaurant downtown Chicago, New York, a major city that has history to it, or even St. Augustine, Florida, or these other historic ones, the restaurant's just in a building that's participating already in the whole urban environment, so there isn't some artificial theme that it needs to construct in order to draw people in. And these artificial themes, these theme parks, it's the same thing as artificial sugars and diet stuff, artificial, call them out, McDonald's and Burger King and all of your standard fast food stuff and all the artificial food. And for some reason, the marketing and the way these things taste, the way they feel, the way they engage with us, for some reason is so addicting. And I don't know how any other way to say that. And it's the same thing with theme parks. It's in the pursuit of fun or this artificial experience, there's something that it's almost the buildup of going is more emotionally engaging than actually being there. So the idea, it's like we love the idea of a thing more than our experience of the thing. Because everyone looked kind of bored standing in line for 45 minutes waiting for a 30-second to 1 minute ride. And it's just interesting that we do that to ourselves rather than having an urban center or like a village, regardless of the scale. Because most of us like the suburbs and live in suburbs because we like the space. We like having a yard. We like that. Most of us like that. And at least 50% in the US like that. And just by virtue of how the rest of the world is developing in terms of more of a suburban thing, I'm assuming that most of the world likes that too. And so there's something about the idea of having this space, which is really engaging. And if you do it right, there's nothing wrong with it. But the problem is as we develop the commercial aspects of it, we turn it into fake things, and we've gone so far that we've blurred the lines. I want you to look at something here. I've got 3 pictures here. And on these 3 pictures, one is from the theme park, and 2 are from Chicago. Which one is which? Which one's from the theme park? Can you figure it out? It's pretty dang close, isn't it? It's like it's hard to tell. If you're not really paying attention and really looking at it, it is hard to tell which one is not authentic. And that, I think, is the greatest challenge with it all. Because fake materials, if you can pull off, the closer you are to your architectural experience, if I can touch it, the material needs to be as close to nature as you can make it. The further away, the higher it is on a building, the further away it is from my architectural experience, the material can get more and more fake because it's not part of your tactile experience. But there's that issue, which is your materials, and then the other one is proportions. And so this image on the left, this is the one from the actual theme park. These other 2 are from Chicago. And there's some very subtle differences. And it's interesting because it's the cartoonification of our world. And that's what all big box areas essentially are becoming, is these themed cartoons of sorts in an alternate reality, a fake life experience. And so we've made form follows function and straight utilitarian things, big box stores and life, and turned them into more themed things because form following function was just so unfulfilling. And so we're trying to figure out, well, what's fulfilling? Well, theme parks and themes, those are cool. Let's make them turn into that. And they're still unfulfilling. And I think you guys are the next generation coming up. If you don't get completely consumed in the virtual world and you still engage in reality, we've got to be able to learn how to distinguish that authentic architecture from this virtual stuff. And so when you look at this scene right here, this is the fake scene, and it's the bricks are real, but the rest of it's concrete, but this is all stone. This is brick and stone on this one. But the proportions on this are wrong, proportions on this are wrong, proportions on this are wrong, proportions and how this is all wrong and wrong and wrong in terms of going back to an authentic thing. And so as you begin to exaggerate and get proportions and depths and planes and everything slightly different, if you look at these, that and that, you begin to turn something that has authentic proportions into a caricature of that authentic thing, and it loses the character and turns into a caricature, and it becomes a cartoon. And that is, after just witnessing what I saw on this trip to Orlando, I think I've accepted reality that most of us are fine living in a cartoonified world. Is that bad? I don't know. But what I do want to challenge all of us is to look to be authentic inside and look to our world around us and encourage and do whatever we can. If we're building a house, if we're, whatever we do, try to make it more authentic. Because I'll tell you, I've seen this all over the world, even in Uzbekistan when I went there last year. Cuba doesn't have any new construction, but these other places I've been to internationally recently, that when they're building new things, we've lost the sense of proportional design in the pursuit of beauty, and everything turns into this theme park feel, which is Las Vegas and theme parks, and it's detaching us, I think, from who we are as human beings. And that's why we're finding repose and peace out in nature, and we've lost it in the subdivisions and the cities and that type of stuff. And so anyway, those are some very broad generalizations, but we can go into more specifics other times. But it was an interesting trip down to Universal Orlando. I don't think I'll ever go back, but it was nice to go, and I'm glad I went. And I don't fault any of us for enjoying it and doing it, but I hope we can try to pursue more authentic things in the future. That's it. Till next time.